as I told the team afterwards, I don't prepare a talk or a speech for after a defeat. All I prepare in my mind as I go through the week is what I'm going to say after a win. So I was a little bit speechless, to say the least, when I was out there. I expected better. I expected better from all phases of the game. We prepared very, very hard in practice. I think our guys were mentally ready, and for some reason they had good momentum, good feeling at the beginning of the game, and all of a sudden it just kind of got away from them, and we could just never get it back. I'm really open for questions.
Charlie, you had, last week the defense had put up such a strong effort for a lot of that game. Does this feel like a step back?
Well, it sure does, and not because anything schematic out there. It was just our tackling was atrocious. I mean, I saw more missed tackles today than I ever expected to see. In fact, I was hoping that we would play darn near perfect in that area, just because we tackled well in the first game, which is usually the worst tackling game of the year for a defense. And we tackled well in practice, so I expected that we would continue to move forward in that area.
Conversely, did you feel like your quarterback took a step forward today?
Well, he took a step forward, but you got to remember he was starting at ground zero if you were at the game last week. So, yeah, he took a step forward, a small step, but he was more confident today. His eyes weren't as big. He responded to the pressure of the defense or errors that he made, and he was bounced back much better than he did a week ago.
What was it? What did he do better?
Well, he got off his first receiver. That was the big thing. Last week, he just got locked on number one and never got off. He couldn't. He just wanted to do it. And today he was able to do it. There was one or two times I thought he may have been a bit skittish in the pocket. The film will tell the truth, but he was hung in there for the most part. Tried to deliver the ball downfield. He was lucid in his descriptions of what he saw happening defensively. So I felt like his eyes were open. He was looking at the right keys.
Coach, before his injury, Trey Robertson really had some wide open lanes to run through. I mean, what kind of problems did he pose for you guys?
Well, you know, he's a very good athlete, a very good running quarterback. But you're exactly right. The lanes or the holes were so big that even maybe a less skilled or less gifted runner at the quarterback position would have had some chunks of yardage. And I can't tell you why we didn't hold our gaps as well as we did a week ago. Again, I'll have to go back and look at the film. It's really premature. But he just took advantage of what our defense gave. That's the bottom line.
You also mentioned the difficulty tackling. I mean, how concerning is that going forward with Denard Robinson?
Well, of course it's concerning, you know, and it doesn't matter who you're playing, Denard Robinson or Trey, or it's irrelevant. It's the fact is our guys just have to tackle better, contain the quarterback better, tackle better, the whole gamut of things defensively.
Penalties again a problem?
Penalties are a big problem because we're really not good enough to overcome them. I don't know what football teams are, but we're really not good enough to overcome penalties. So we shoot ourselves in the foot early in the series, and it's offensively it's almost a guaranteed punt. And defensively, we had some good stops, good first and second downs, and then on third down we would get penalized. And some of them were just aggressive football errors or just mistakes, and some were, as we call, stupid penalties, as coaches call them. You know, and the stupid penalties are easier to address because most of the time, once that happens to a guy and he gets the proper behavior modification during the week, they tend not to do them. And if that doesn't work, then they just don't play. But good aggressive penalties, they're always going to be part of the game of football.
What was the thought process from going with Johnson's way as opposed to straight in the country?
He's just, right now, he really kicked the ball well in practice. In fact, him and Jeff were very, very close throughout summer camp. So Jeff, by virtue of maybe possession being 9/10 of the law, so to speak, and being a veteran, got the first crack at it. But we just feel like Coulter is very, very competitive with Jeff. Not that Coulter's won the job by any stretch of the imagination, but was really our best player at that position this week.
Coach, obviously you need your offense to do more to score points, but is the fact that they're not haven't been able to stay on the field much not only inhibiting your ability to score, but inhibiting their development, because it seems like they're struggling to get rhythm?
Yeah, well, it's you can't score when you're not on the field. That's obvious, and the other team can score. So that was the case again today. I think we're closer. There were things that just tell me that we're getting closer, and we at the end of the day, most of the breakdowns are still occurring by guys who are their first year playing, either a freshman or a true freshman or a sophomore who maybe wasn't part of the mix in the past, and now is being out on the field. And again, those are pretty good football players. They're Big Ten football players. That's a football team, again, similar to last week's team, that's a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, and has played tougher competition week in and week out in the course of their career. You know, so these guys are used to playing good, hard, tough, fast football. Our guys just aren't playing at that level yet. We'll get there, we're just not there yet.
You said during the week that having a game under the belt would likely help your younger guys. Did they come along as far as?
Oh, you know, yeah, I think so. I think if you noticed, Mike Boland was 1,000 times better, 1,000 times. Tajay Sharp, I thought he played more like a guy that's been around than a true freshman last week, even more confident on the sideline. Can clearly tell you what's going on with the defense. He's playing with his eyes open, his head is up. He knows what's going on. He's plays very hard. I really like the way he is. Defensively, you know, we started a true freshman today back at one of the safety spots, Joey Coulter, and he was not a dominant force back there. But again, there's a guy who, you know, 3 weeks ago was on the scout team and starting his first college football game at the, you know, against the BCS team. You know, these guys are it's gonna take a while for them to be ready to play at this level of football.
What triggered him starting today?
You know what? A combination of injury and just outplaying the competition during the week. And we're competing for every job, every day. That's just the only way we know how to do it. That's the only way we're gonna do it. The guys have nothing sewed up, nothing guaranteed. Just like we talked about the Jeff Strait example, it was very, very close going into the first game. Jeff had been there, so he got the nod, but then after that, man, if he didn't outkick Coulter during the week, he wasn't gonna keep the job, and that's what we did. Jeff could be our punter next week, who knows?
Was Burns not playing an indication of his struggles, or was there any kind of injury?
Well, there was a number of factors. Burns was 100% healthy, so that's not even a reason why. Burns' performance at the end of the day was not, last week was not as what we were hoped for a guy who basically had the job every rep with the starters throughout summer camp, and just didn't handle some of his responsibilities like a guy who's been around and should have. I still love the kid. He's still going to play a lot of football for us. Just never happened for him to get in the game. I thought we need to get Mike Cox some work. He's an awfully good talent, and he's not going to get better by sitting around watching. And Broadnax is, again, here's a guy that's a young guy that's growing, getting ready to play. Then when it was kind of time to put Chris Burns in, the game was so out of reach, I needed to get Stacy Bedell some action too. So really, that's it. There was no great, nothing beyond that.
What are the challenges going from a shift defensively mid-game after Robeson gets injured from his option game to more pocket passing cop?
Well, you know, the pocket passing hurt us, but what really hurt us was, at the end of the day, was their run game. Their ability to dominate us up front was really the big difference defensively. So as linebackers, everybody tightens up to the box, and now it's just a little easier to throw the ball. They threw the ball over our linebackers, a couple digs here and there. Everybody's compressed inside. They outflanked us with a couple, you know, the backs out in the flat, just things like that, man. It was just when you run the ball well, you've got your whole playbook opened up to you.
Conversely, you guys have struggled running the ball, and it really is a lot of negative plays to move forward.
Yeah, and again, most of them come down to one guy breaking down. And that's the great thing about football. You need 11 guys in sync, but that's also the bad thing about football. If you have one guy who's can't quite get the job done for whatever the reason, the results are a lot of negative plays.
But the draw worked nice. The QB draw worked nice for you.
Yeah, you know, this game was really important to me, really important to our program. I wasn't gonna treat those guys with kid gloves this week. We said we're gonna let it all go, and. Now, there was things that we didn't do in the game because it reached a certain point where we said, hey, let's protect our guys and live to fight another day. I mean, that's just good common sense stuff. But we were, you know, they had a good hard pass rush. They weren't great redirectors, so we felt like we could run the draw or some screens against them.
Is part of the kids' glove situation a matter of running the play like the pass back then with the deep completion that you had, or the hook and ladder? Did you come into the game planning to run those? Or was it a matter of the situation presenting yourself?
Well, of course we planned to run them. We practiced them. We told the guys we're going to run them, and those are things that you see to take advantage of what a defense does, and that's just really the bottom line. You know, you're not just running it to run it. You have an idea why you want to run it and when you want to run it. And for those two particular plays, we were more or less on the money. I'd like to sit up here in front of you and tell you we were on the money with all our calls today, offensively, defensively, special teams. That's not the case. And there were some calls you'd like to have back, and there were some plays we'd like to have back. But for the most part, those plays presented themselves on video, and then we just took advantage of it.
How did you feel about the way your team responded to being in the first home game? Because of all the hype about being at Gillette and all of that.
I thought the energy was really good, and I thought the focus was good. You know, you can see when a team gets more interested in what's going on in the stands and waving and just peeking around to see what was going on. These guys during warm-ups were good. They were locked into what we were doing, and I just think again we just didn't. We need to bring our A game. Every single week. There's not going to be many games where the talent level is going to be even on that field. It's just not going to be. So for us to win the game, for us to stay in the game, we've got to bring our A game. And if we brought our A game, it quickly dissolved into a B game or less for for some guys.
Is your A game something that's still developing?
Yeah, we don't see our A game very often. We'll hit spurts in practice, or maybe a good practice, maybe a practice and a half, where all the coaches on one side of the ball or the other are saying, like, man, we're really guys are playing good. They're playing faster. They're not making errors. But as you insert more and more young guys in there, it's hard to sustain your A game, because one of them is going to break down. Sooner or later, they're going to break down either physically or mentally. Our guys have been in the weight room almost nonstop since I got hired. Now you take these other guys coming from high school, they're running track, playing baseball, hanging out, not doing anything. They just started really lifting weights like a college football player for about 4 or 5 weeks this summer. There's just no way are their bodies ready for the competition, you know, to sustain through 60 minutes, some of them. But again, they're the best guys we got. We're not playing them because they're freshmen. We're not building for some obscure day in the future. They're the best guys we've got, and that's why they're out there.
If you had another field goal chance, would you send Mike back out there?
Nope, I was going to go with Levingood. Absolutely, it was. He had 2 chances, and I think at that point mentally, he just needed to sit down. Regardless of the situation, I just felt like I didn't want to bury the kid in his first game kicking the football. I didn't want him to go in the tank so badly that it would take 2 years for him to recover.
Marcus, get hurt?
Yeah, he got bruised. He went back in the game, and again, it was more precautionary at some point in the game. As a head coach, you got to say, man, we're fighting, we're doing our best, but we're just. It's you think to yourself, let's save him for another day, because he's an awfully good football player, and if he's banged up for 12 weeks, it's going to definitely inhibit our offense. So, and he was banged up. I mean, it was just typical stuff that happens in a football game, and he'll be hopefully he'll be fine by midweek. I would think he'll be practicing.
Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
Out there, did it feel a lot different?
It definitely felt different. I felt more prepared coming out. I think as a team we felt more prepared. We've been looking a lot better in practice, obviously from the week before until this game week. But obviously that we didn't have the game that we were expecting and hope to have. But there's a lot more. I don't think a lot more things, but there's a few more things that we need to polish up. I think today we came out, and at least as an offense, speaking from the offensive side, we really found our identity, I feel like, this week, and I think it showed a little bit in spurts during the game, but we still have things to polish up.
How much confidence did you guys get off of the touchdown drive, and then after that, when they came back and scored and you didn't, did that kind of deflate everybody a little?
I don't think it deflated us at all. We little things that we kept doing wrong to stop our flow as an offense. One person was off on this play, the next play, only one person was off on that one. So that kind of, made it harder for us to keep drives sustained and, keep moving and get more touchdowns going.
Does it feel like it's close? Does it feel like it's close? One guy off here, one guy off there. Does it feel like it's, or at least getting closer to clicking?
Oh, definitely. It's extremely close to clicking. I think if you look back at it, there's a lot of times we're moving the ball, and then there's, you know, just this one play that, you know, if we would have been on page with every single person, you know, that would have changed the whole outcome of the drive.
What's the atmosphere in that locker room right now? Are guys down, or you guys looking at it like, all right, you have to take progress week to week?
I mean, obviously guys aren't happy, you know, but especially with the outcome of the game. You know, we came in looking at this team. I thought we could have done a lot better things. There's a lot of things that, you know, we didn't execute like we planned on executing. But you know, now we're looking forward on to Michigan. So we're looking on to Michigan. I think, you know, this week we'll just have to polish up. As I said before, we're moving forward. We're taking strides. So we just have to polish up, and hopefully next week, I think personally that we'll be there.
Perry, was this frustrating for you guys because last week you had so many positives in the defense, and this week you struggling, especially tackling?
Yeah, it's definitely a setback, but in the end, it's a great team, and we just got to go back to the drawing boards, back to fundamentals, and I think we'll get it straight.
For either of you guys, is it a little bit right now where you've got a lot of young guys and now playing on both sides and things, that if you're focusing on one thing this week in practice, that there's so many things to focus on, so many things to try to improve on, that it's hard to sort of stay on top of all the different things that you need to be successful in a week?
I just think if everybody just do their job, just focus on, you know, what their responsibility is, then all problems will get fixed.
Any more questions?